chains yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right, lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
no.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far, it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Katie, go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
And Anello Answers It. It's a question from many of you, but most recently, Terry Foster wrote in and asked about types of weather modification. Well, it's a great question, widely studied and becoming quite widely used. The most common form of weather modification is called cloud seeding. We use it in areas that are experiencing a whole lot of drought. However, we also use it in very rural areas, places with a whole lot of farms and large areas full of crop structure. Now, here's the deal. When we have a cloud that we need to rain or is going to rain, that water has to bind to a separate particle called a condensation nuclei. Water droplet bonding with water droplet doesn't do the job to make it rain. So naturally, that condensation nuclei, what the water binds to, is typically pollen or dust in the upper atmosphere or ash from a fire nearby. However, what happens when those things aren't present and we just can't get it to rain, or it's taking so long that the hailstone that's going to fall is massive and could be devastating to farmers? Well, we cloud seed, which means we fly a plane right over a cloud and we introduce silver iodide. We put so much of it into a cloud that becomes the condensation nuclei. The water freezes and binds to those molecules and it gives us rain or a whole lot of hailstones. The question is, what is silver iodide and is it dangerous? Well, no, we've been cloud seeding and studying that for 40 years. And in fact, your average table salt has more iodide in it than what is injected into these clouds. So why exactly do we use it and what are the main benefits? Well, in areas that are farmland, when we put that silver iodide, it allows the water to form and the ice to form faster. So rather than several very large destructive hailstones, we get a whole lot of little ones. That means that your crops can live a whole lot longer without being destroyed. Additionally, it gives us more rain and more snow in drought-prone areas. And there's new research near airports where we're cloud seeding into fog to be able to dissipate that fog and allow airlines to continue their planes on schedule. That's all for Anello Answers It this week. If you have a weather question, be sure to email it to me at gianello@waytv.com.